Okay, so welcome to my self-publishing workshop. My name is Valencia Lockhart. I'm going to go over 10 keys to self-publishing. These are things that I learned while I was publishing my book, and I feel like they will be very beneficial to someone else who wants to self-publish. And I am going to take questions at the end of everything. So we are about to do some learning, so feel free to do screenshots or take notes as we go along if you desire to do so before I go over all the tips. And then at the end, I'm going to do a Q&A, and I'm also going to do an offer for my self-publishing boot camp. Sorry, I was going to say something else, but yes, for the boot camp. So I will introduce myself first. So actually, this is one of my favorite quotes. So there's no such thing as writer's block. There's only an author expecting the book not to sell. And once I heard this, it really just got me busy working on some of my other books that I wanted to work on. But my name is Claricia. I am a author, a blogger, a child of God, and I love to travel. So that is me in London, in Circus something square or whatever. But that's me from traveling, and I just love having other people to teach them exactly what I know, so that they can utilize it to bless other people. Okay, so the solution to someone's problem is in a book written by you. If you don't write your book, then who? And I always think about like how the different books are needed for different seasons, and God designed us to release our book in different seasons because that's exactly when He wants us to release them. Even the time period we were born into is the time period He wanted us born. If He wanted us born in the 60s, we would have been born in the 60s, but He wanted us to experience exactly what we're experiencing today. And so, whatever book, devotion, journal, or whatever you're writing, it's needed for this particular season of whenever it's going to be released. I truly believe that a book is not released a day before it needs to be released. I believe whenever it's time for it to be released, it's the day that it's actually released. So, to, so the key number one that I want to share when you're thinking about self-publishing is one, determine your writing space. So I prefer to write anywhere, but I mainly start all of my books on my cell phone. And then once I finish writing on my cell phone, I will go to my computer and start working. But I will write from my bed. I love writing on a plane, on my iPad, when I'm doing my writing space. But I have to be very comfortable. I know sometimes people like going to a coffee shop or sitting in a certain room. I feel like I can pretty much write anywhere. It just has to be quiet for me to write. I can listen to music, but it can't have words because that can be distracting for me. So I would just say determine what you want your writing space to be. If it needs to be really clean, like I can't write in clutter, so I have to clean up my apartment before I write because I need a really clean, organized space. So it just varies. So I believe it's key to find determining your writing space. Key number two that I would share is break your book down into smaller pieces. So I'm always like right now I'm working on a book and it's a chapter book, and so I've broken it down into different chapters, and so now I'm going back to go through each chapter to break it down, and then I'm going to break it down into two sections as well. And I would say once you release your first book, you pretty much have you may have an idea of your front matter, which is like your table of contents, a preface if you want to include that, a forward if you want someone to do that, like your title pages, that's all at the front of your book. And then you have your back matter, which is maybe an author's page if you want, or if you wanted to have a QR code or something like that at the back. But I say break your book down into smaller pieces. So if you want to do like maybe You may have a idea of how much you want to write, but okay, I'm only going to do like focus on 10 pages right now, or I'm going to focus on 2 chapters right now, but just determine what works for you. I even tell people, like, even if you want to just do like 5 to 10 minutes a day, like all of that adds up whenever you're writing a book. I did a 30-day challenge where I wrote for 5 minutes a day, and at the end of that month, I had over 20,000 words just from writing 5 minutes a day. So it adds up really, really quickly whenever you're writing. Just set a timer and be dedicated. Whatever you decide, just be dedicated to it. Key number 3 is decide on your writing tools. So I kind of spoke on this on key number 1, but my writing tools is I usually start with my cell phone and I use notes. And then after that, I transfer it to Google. What is it called? Google Word Doc. I think Google Word Doc. I think it's called. Um, and then sometimes if I'm doing a journal, I'll start my journals in Canva, and I'll start and finish my journals all in Canva. I don't use anything else. I don't use Canva for my journals. If I'm doing a children's book, I will use Amazon has this site called Amazon KDP, and they on KDP it allows you to format your book in Amazon KDP, and so they'll help you like with formatting colors and things like that. But I'll do my book in KDP if I'm writing a children's book. But mostly I use Canva for everything. It's easy. You can do an entire book in Canva. I've only done journals and devotions in Canva. I haven't done a book yet just because you have to lock the pages to make sure like the formatting of the pages are a little or correctly formatted. I'll also use Microsoft Word, so you can add on like something to Microsoft Words to make sure like you're formatting a book correctly. And that's all I've used before. Um, Once I get everything ready, I'll transfer it to my computer. But I don't like sitting at the. I work all day at a computer, so I try not to be at a computer like when I'm trying to be creative all day. I know that's probably not the best thing, but that just works for me. So if you prefer to use your laptop, by all means use your laptop in whatever system you use on there. I don't feel like you have to buy expensive, fancy software to start writing. I just feel like you can use whatever you have to get started. Because if you try to buy software or something, you'll just delay your start of actually starting your book because you're not using what you have. So I believe you can truly use what you have. Some people start writing pen and paper. Sometimes people start and they do talk to text in their phone, and then they have someone to actually transcribe it. So, I mean, you have a lot of different options that you can use. Just decide what you want your writing tools to be. Oh yeah, sometimes people when they I do print out my books and I do go through with a highlighter and a red marker when I'm ready to like send it to the editor just to do my own edit as well. So I do use markers, highlighters, and markers too. Key number 4 is begin with the end in mind. So before I start any book, I know how I want the reader to feel. I know like what my overall goal is. And so something that I've started recently is I have a motto or a summary for my book that I know I want to do. Like I'm working on a book about women in the Bible, and I know from this book I want to encourage women to read the Bible more. I want them to be able to relate with the women in the stories, and I want them to be able to recognize, to think broader about the Bible than how maybe they had considered it before. So those are like 3 goals that I want when someone's reading this book, although it's not released yet, but I'm thinking about how I want the reader to feel by the end of the book. So I would say start with the end in mind, and then you can go back and add in like action steps while you're writing a book, or if you actually have an outline. Sometimes people like to outline their book, but even if you have an outline of the book, just make sure you begin with the end in mind before you go forward. Key number 5, create a firm writing schedule and deadline. So whenever I'm like ready for a book to be released, I do have a hardcore writing schedule. And I know sometimes this can vary for people depending on like their workload or what they're working on. But I will block off time on my calendar and write 5 to 6 days a week for 2 to 3 hours a day in the afternoon when I'm really ready for a book to be released. Once I give myself a deadline, and I say deadline meaning you can have a hardcore deadline when you want the book to be released, which is a really good idea, but mainly just having a hardcore deadline of when you want your manuscript to be completed, because then you have to get editors involved with the book as well. So make sure you leave time for edits, or if you want other people to read your books, then you have to think about that as well and add that into your schedule as well. But I usually have whenever like I know I want the book I'm working on right now, I want it to be done by the end of the year. All my writing, all my editing to be done by the end of the year and to release it probably first quarter of next year. So that kind of helps me set up my writing schedule as to like how much I need to do every single day, especially with the holidays. So I would give myself 30 days, but it's holidays and a lot of things are going on. So I'm going to give myself another, a little bit less than 2 months to finish this book. Determine whatever writing schedule works for you, or if you want to, a lot of people like to release books at the beginning of the year or on their birthdays. Just work backwards. So begin with the end in mind and say, okay, I want to release on this day. Okay, how much time do I have? And then you can divide it up into smaller pieces to chunk out your book. Key number 6, complete your research. So before I release a book, I will go to Amazon, I'll go to Barnes and Nobles, I'll go to different sites and see if there are books similar to mine within like the same category. I feel like this is very helpful for when I'm writing my summary. I want to see books that are like top sellers in that category. Like, what did they do well? And not to copy them, but I want to get ideas for my book. So I'm like, okay, I know this type of cover really works well. So, okay, maybe I need to do something. I'll see what colors they use. I'll read their summaries. Like maybe if they added questions in their Amazon summary, I'll look and see what they did there. Or if there's different keywords they bolded or highlighted, or even how they did their book titles. Did they include numbers in their book titles? Like numbers are really popular depending on what type of book you're writing. So like my first book, I think it was things I learned before I turned 31. When I was doing my keywords, it was like I had to use stuff with 30 because people weren't really searching for 31. So even when it comes to titles, you can search and see if your title has already been taken before you publish a book. I'm not saying you can't publish something that someone has already published as a title, but you just want to see what has already worked well for other people, even when it comes to book covers. Maybe you want to do something unique. I'm not telling someone not to do what they would desire to do, but if you really want your book to sell, see what has already worked, and then you can do something similar and just make it your own. Key number 7, think about how you would captivate the reader. So one thing that I'm doing in my current book is, well, I'm doing a couple of these different, but my first sentence, I want it to be very compelling and like grab the reader's attention. And so you can be very creative in like how you want to do that. Maybe you want to add in pictures in your book, or you want to do a journal and you want images to be added in your journal, or you want to have writing prompts throughout your journal or your book, or whatever you want to do. Just think about how you will be able to captivate a reader if they were interested in your book. Like, what would be captivating to the reader? Maybe it's your book cover that's really captivating to somebody, and that's really grabbing their attention. So just think about how you want, if you are a reader or you have your target audience of who you want to read your book, think about what would grab their attention if they were just seeing your book on the shelf. Like, what would grab their attention if you really wanted them to read your book? Key number 8, resist the urge to continuously fix your book. So I am a recovering perfectionist. I like everything to be done really well when I'm writing a book. And so I can have the urge to want to fix my book while I'm continuously working on it, like do spelling error corrections and things like that. And if you constantly editing your book, it's gonna take you longer to finish. You're gonna go back through your book at the end to reread it and things like that. But I would say resist the urge to continuously edit your book while you're writing. Like the whole goal is to write as much as possible, and then you're gonna hire editors, or maybe you feel comfortable editing your own book, and you can edit your own book at the end, but just write as much as possible. Which I think that feeds into key number 9 as well. Write more than is needed. I always say, I know people say less is more, but not when you're writing. You want to have things that you can take out and move around. Or I even heard when you're writing a chapter book to write 2 alternative endings to see which one is more compelling, like to see which one has more emotions conveyed, which one is more moving. I feel like this is also a good, if you have more than is needed, maybe you have an extra chapter that you can use for another book, or something like that, or you can give bonus content, but always write more than you actually need, because there's going to be so much edit and things taken out, or you may change your mind, or you may want to go a different direction. So I'd rather have more information than I can take out than to be done with my book and feel like it's not enough information and a reader can't really follow along with my storyline. And key number 10 is create a marketing plan before the book is released. So I know a lot of times people think about their marketing plan of how they want to market their book. Like, okay, now my book is out. I want to market my book and I want my book to sell. However, I believe that you should have your marketing plan. Whenever you start writing your book, you should also start thinking about your marketing plan. So how do I want this book to be released? Who am I going to use to help me market the book? If you want to get beta readers to send them copies of your book, have people in mind, or create a survey early on to let people know, hey, I'm looking for beta readers for my book. My only ask is that you add a review to this site for me, or something like that. So have your marketing plan, or maybe you want to work with, maybe your book is targeted around a certain target market, maybe with kids. So you want to reach out to schools, or you want to work directly with churches, or anything like that. Have your complete marketing plan before your book is released. That way you can just follow your plan, have a budget in mind, even if you are using social media, which is really huge. It can be helpful for marketing your book. However, from releasing several books, I have learned the best marketing tool is word of mouth. Like, my aunt and my mom sold so many of my first books just from taking it to church with them and telling other people about it. So I know some people came in late, so I'm gonna go back over these really quickly just so you guys can see all of them, and then I'm gonna take questions. Okay, so key number 1 was determine your writing space. Key number 2 was break your book down into smaller pieces. Oh, no worries. Key number 3, decide on your writing tools. Key number 4, begin with the end in mind. Key number 5, create a firm writing schedule and deadline of when you want your book completed. Key number 6, complete your research. Key number 7, 7, think about how you will captivate the reader. Key number 8, resist the urge to continuously fix your book. Key number 9, write more than you needed. And key number 10, create a marketing piece. And I am open for any questions that anybody has.